Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Holly, I am a game developer, and I'm working on a game called Frogimari. And today, we're going to be modeling some 90s nostalgic objects, maybe throw in a couple of Y2K things in there, and we're going to put them in my game. Let's get started. Alright, we're going to start it with a banger, and that's ring pops. If you know, you know. So let's find a reference image for ring pops and open up Blender. Oh man, these were good. I've not thought about ring pops in a solid 15 years at least. Let's put in my reference photos. Let's just zero these out real quick. That's probably pretty good. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Now I need a cylinder. Cylinder needs to have 8 vertices, so it's a perfect octagon. That up a little bit. Press S to scale down. It's not gonna match the reference perfectly, but that's okay. As long as we're getting the general idea there. So I'm not gonna be able to get a perfect cross-section of the image. Also, my favorite mug. Have my little list of things that I want to do. We will see how far we're gonna get. But first is ring pop. Scale it on the Z axis. Scale up just a little bit. Pressing S, Z to scale it just on the Z axis. And then now we can go into object mode with this selected, or edit mode I should say. We'll click on 3 or go up here. Select this face, and now we can just scale that one out. And then I can extrude this to the bottom. Also with this face selected, I can scale in. And look at that, we kind of have a ring pop. Now for the bottom. To tab out of here, I'm gonna create a new object so it can have 2 different types of materials. So go Shift A, and this is a cylinder, another cylinder, but this time we can have probably like 32. Scale on the Z axis, and then we'll just scale it up. Scale it down again. Something like that. Make sure we're all perfectly aligned. And then for the ring part, I don't super care about total accuracy here. I just want it to be obvious that it is a ring pop. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll just create a new cylinder. And then we'll rotate it 90 degrees this way. Oh my gosh. Okay. Doesn't wanna do that. Okay, 90 on the y-axis. Let's bring it down a little bit. I get it right here. And then scale it on the x-axis. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna get rid of the image at this point. Go back over here. And what I'm gonna do is I will duplicate this. Let's scale it down a little bit. And then I'm going to scale it on the x-axis to kind of create like a little ring. So with this selected, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add a Boolean modifier. Boolean just allows you to be able to cut things out. So, you make sure that we're on the right cylinder though. And we'll do a difference, and then we'll select this as the object we want to exclude. It's always weird because it doesn't look like it works right off the bat. It is working, but we still have the positive of this shape. So if we take this out, there it is. But we have to apply this effect. So if we're happy with this, I think I'm mostly happy. Then we can apply. We want to scale it down a little bit, bring it up. Then if we want to, we can join these two. I think I will. Join. Can't see it right here, but I actually have a Stream Deck that has a bunch of hotkeys on this specifically for Blender. The absolute hardest part are the hotkeys. by far. So if you have the hotkey panel, the hotkey board, it makes learning this and really any program like 100 times easier. And then now I can export them as an FBX. Let's name this ring pop. Then now in Unity, export.fbx, and she lives. I'm going to have to detach this as a prefab, or unpack it, I mean. Unpack all this. And because we have the top and the bottom, now we can work with adding the different materials. So it makes it a little bit easier. And we'll just create a couple of materials. We'll do a nice red for the top. I think that'll look really good. Just kind of transparent. A little red. Drag and drop it on here. Woo, that looks pretty. Then we can give it ever so slightly a little bit of transparent. Put it like right at the edge. Give it some emission if we wanted to, which kind of makes it look a little jelly. Oh, we got red and green. Create another material for green. Add that to the bottom here. It's a little bright. Look at that, we have a ring pop. All that's left to do is add, we need a collider, so I'm gonna use a box collider. I like to extend it just a little bit past the object so that, like, you never want the player to feel like they're being tricked, so give a little bit of grace there, I think is a good idea. And then we add the item, script, wherever that is. We need a rigid body. We can go around in our world and see it. Pretty cute. There we go. Interacts with physics and everything. Got ourselves a little ring pop. I can make a blue one, I can make a purple one, whatever. That looks pretty cool. I think that one's a yellow base. And look at that, we have ring pops. I think the next thing I'm gonna do are cosmic brownies. Let's get ourselves a little reference image. When you were in school, like, you definitely wanted to be friends with the people that their moms packed them the cosmic brownies, because that was 10 of 10. I actually had some friends that always had like the good snacks in 3rd or 4th grade, and it always made me so happy because I definitely always had not the candy. We were a sugar-free household, and that meant no cosmic brownies. So whenever I would get a cosmic brownie, it was like the best day ever. And the kudos bars. Whatever happened to kudos bars? All right, gotta keep it simple. Stretch that out a little bit. Scale it on the different axes. Axes? I don't like that. I am gonna add a subdivision surface though, because we are gonna need that. Get a couple of those. And once again, if you're doing this, you're gonna need some loop cuts. So let's go over to edit mode, loop cut, then scrolling on my mouse wheel to get us some good loop cuts here. And then I'll just kind of go forth and add as I need them. Put some on this here too. Because I really just want the corners to look rounded is all. Then I'm gonna add some right here as well. Add some supporting loop cuts. And there we go. That looks pretty good, pretty convincing. And then, I don't know if they all have this, but at least back in the day, they used to have the thing in the middle, a little line. I think the idea was so that you could break it off and share it with your friend. You never did. You never really did. But then we can go to select 2. And if you have the Node Wrangler add-on, that's kind of cool. You can just select an entire line. I'm not gonna do that. I just need the first one here. I feel like I need 2 other loop cuts, like right next to here. And we can give ourselves a little dip right in the middle. And I hate how it's not sharp. Like, I really, really don't like that. think I may be able to, yeah, there we go. Just add another loop cut. Right here. Pretty perfect. And then we can just right click, shade smooth, and that looks pretty good. You'll notice I'm not doing all of the materials in Blender. You can absolutely do that if you want to. If you have more complex materials that are harder to make in Unity, that totally makes sense, and you can export them, and I have tutorials on that if you want to know how to do that. However, when the materials are very, very simple, all of the materials in Unity are going to be optimized for games, and they're already kind of there. So if you just need something that is a solid color, or like one step up from a solid color, I always just like to do it in Unity. And what you'll see a lot in game development is people will make all of their models in one place, like a 3D modeling software. They'll make the materials and then they will kind of bake them all together, and they'll have one kind of master material that they apply to all of the objects. And they do that because, one, it's more efficient that way. I only have to have something in one place. Makes it a little bit easier because if I want to change one object, I can just go in, update the master material, and then call it a day. However, I'm not a big studio, it's just me, and creating 100 models in Blender and then trying to export them all together, that just sounds like a giant pain, and then I don't really see the fruits of my effort until the very, very end, which just makes me sad. So that's really the entire reason that I am doing it this way. It's not as efficient, but I like it because it makes me excited. Every single time I make an object and I put it in, it makes me happy. It gives me a little dopamine rush, and that makes me want to do more models. And everybody wants to optimize for efficiency, and that makes total logical sense. However, we are not logical, efficient human beings. So I think the biggest hurdle you really have to overcome is the emotional side when it comes to game development. So anything you can do to make yourself just a little bit more happy or just a little bit more excited to create your game, you should absolutely do it that way. So if you want to do it one at a time, like I'm doing it, there's absolutely no shame in that. So that being said, it needs to be pretty dark. And it's a little too shiny. Yeah, there we go. And then we can create just like a bunch of teeny tiny little cubes. There we go. We have our ring pops. We have our cosmic brownie. Oh, that sprinkle is sticking up hard. I may leave it though. It's probably fine.
Baby, I'm bleeding, and I wonder.
Back in the day, imminently before the release of the first ever iPhone, there was the Razr phone, and this is by Motorola. I don't even know if people even buy their phones anymore. I think they still make phones. I don't know. Maybe they're making a comeback. I think they may have made a fold phone or something. Yes, this bad boy right here. It was a flip phone. This was really when cell phones first started becoming a thing, and it was really cool because you could call people on it and you could text people, even though it was the horrible T9 texting. You had one of these, had the cute little LCD screen to know when your messages are coming in. You pick it up, you flip it, you put it on your ear, and then when you're done, you just like the little click sound of that was so satisfying. Paris Hilton had one, not lying. Let's just start with the cube and see how far we go. Press on 3 for the face, go over here. So I'm just gonna drag it down real quick. Then I think I'm gonna need a couple of loop cuts. Let's go into my tools. Like this, I'm gonna hover over the vertical section, scroll up on my mouse wheel to add a bunch of loop cuts. And then I'm gonna click on this face and we're gonna turn on proportional editing so everything kind of flows together. And then I'm just gonna drag it down. And then as I'm dragging, you can see this little wheel pop up. And the higher I pop it up, the more proportional it is. See? We do want it to be kind of exaggerated. And you can see that because I don't have a whole lot of loop cuts, it's not super accurate, so I think I may add a few more. Actually, let's just undo those. We're gonna add bunch of loop cuts. And then now, when I go down here, I don't even know if that's in the middle anymore. Maybe those two are in the middle. No, that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to the other way. I just want this whole line. I'll bring that down a bit so I can now bring this up. Looks pretty good. And now we'll do the same thing for the bottom. Now I'm gonna press extrude. And we'll go down there. And then we'll just bring these two up. I'm gonna press on 2 to grab these lines, and we will actually just scale them in a little bit. And that's looking pretty good. Let's do a little subdivision surface modifier over here. I'm realizing I have made a mistake. I don't want to scale it in that much. I just want to bring it over. Give us some supporting loop cuts, but that looks pretty good. I'll just shade smooth. I think we need another loop cut down here. Looks pretty good. Start with another cube. Scale it in. I think I'm gonna start up here. Scale on the x-axis. Scale it up. Then we'll do kind of the same thing. We'll go over to edit mode. Add a bunch of loop cuts. Select some of the faces. That looks like the middle. Turn on proportional editing. Bring this up to the top. Let's get rid of this one for a second. Extrude down. And now we have the bottom. I'll add the buttons on the side. Just gonna scale this up a little bit so I can see it better now. Let's add some loop cuts. Doesn't have to be perfect. Press 3. We'll just extrude this face out right here. Same thing for this one, extrude. We'll do it again up here. I know there's a curve to the loop cut. I don't super care right now just because it doesn't have to be perfect. And you may want to exaggerate your extrudes just a little bit because we're going to be putting a modifier on this, which will kind of tone it down again. So here we go. Let's add a subdivision surface. That up a little bit. Yeah. So if I go back into edit mode, I'm gonna add some supporting loop cuts on all of our buttons. Should help that one too. And then right outside of our buttons as well, to make it look like there's more of a defined edge where these things start and stop. Another one up here. Maybe, maybe not. And now in object mode, let's shade smooth. It actually looks pretty good. It might be nice, but just have some buttons popping out. Join all these to one object. Now we have a little number pad. We can do the same thing with the cylinder over here. Let's rotate that 90 degrees. We can kind of inset it. Go over to edit mode. I just want to take this face right here, inset it using I. Now I'll bring it over here because this little face right here kind of comes in first. Inset it again, and then it kind of extrudes like that. So you can click all the little buttons. We're gonna create like 2 arbitrary materials. Okay, we're gonna do 2 new. Just gonna make one red, make it easy on ourselves. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it all red, but then these other little things, these, I'll just make gray. Volatile gray. Scale it down Y. Now I just need to do the same with the top. I think if we just do that a little bit, it'll look like a real phone. And that's the tiny little LCD screen on the top. There we go. Okay. Now, and Blender has this cool thing where if you make a mistake, like I do all the time, you can just press this little plus and it'll just increment your save file name, which is pretty cool. Bring that bad boy in here. Look at that, that's a beaut. Okay, let's create some materials. We definitely need like a shiny pink. This is gonna be our base. Replace the red. Ooh, yeah. This also can be metallic, but it's not gonna be smooth. It's gonna be kind of rough, like a rough metallic. And all of these things can share this. And then we finally need just something for the little tiny screen. So put that right there. It's gonna be pretty smooth. We'll do that for this one as well. And look at that. I love it. And the cool thing about this too is that because I have all of the individual parts, I can actually come back and create a version where, so I can like get rid of this and just take the top and take this and this piece, rotate them down and create a little flip phone version. I love how shiny the little screen is. I love it. Alright, we have ring pops, we have cosmic brownies, we have the Razer phone. We are killing it. But the one thing that made you super, super cool back in the day was if you had anything Lisa Frank. I mean, she completely dominated the space. I mean, there were notebooks, there were little binders, there were flip notebooks that were spirally. We had folders. There were like little pencil bookcase bags. Like, I think there were posters too, I don't know. But if you had one of those as a kid, you were cool. Like, absolutely. It sounds goofy to say. Stanley Cups for kids now were the same thing for us with Lisa Frank stuff. You had one of those, you were in. And you also were rich because they were not cheap. And honestly, I miss it. You know, rainbows, dolphins, glitter, like they just make people happy. Like bring it back. We don't gotta overthink it. And because I recently just created a really cool holographic shader, I feel like if I create my own version of something Lisa Frank, but frog themed, I think this is gonna be really, really cool. So let's make one. Let's create a plane. And I have world's ugliest test thing right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag this into the base map of test. We're gonna put this over here. It's horrible, I know, but that's what it is. And then we're gonna work with it. Okay, so I have my dimensions right, it seems. All right, now I'm gonna go over to Canva. Just gonna do 8.5 by 11. Keep it simple. I'm actually gonna go over to the Bing image generator just to get some ideas. That's actually pretty cute. I really like that. Although it's not quite right. Usually there's a focal point of some kind. Usually it's an animal. Looks like we're in luck. But there's a lot of stuff in the background. We have rainbows. We have the sun. We could just keep it simple and do like rainbow over cheetah print. I think that would definitely do it. I don't know. Apparently there was like a really big controversy over Lisa Frank. There was like a really, really toxic environment or something, and the brand just ended up dying because it was so tumultuous. It's crazy for me to think about something like artwork so happy could be could be so political. I like this too because you have the print of the actual thing, and then you have the print going on in the background. I mean, this is fantastic. It's one of those things I think you almost can't even think about it. You just gotta add rainbows, add colors, and just go, go, go. I'm gonna take one of these as reference though, just so I can get the colors right, because I think the color is really important. Okay, let's get the frog in here. Dart frog. We definitely need like dart frog on this one. I feel like this is like almost perfect. I just need to be able to edit it. Okay, now we're talking. Oh wow. Yup. That's what we need. I need like 2 of these bad boys. I want to edit it. You are killing me. I love this so much. I love everything about it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm very limited, so we're gonna export this to Figma. We're gonna do a little line art magic, and we're gonna make it work. Okay, here we go.
Hear me like thunder. I'm crying out your song. Baby, I'm bleeding, and I wonder if you really planned this all along.
Do this over here. Clean up some of the weird spots. I feel like we should be filling this with rainbow. 100%. Pretty cool. One thing she also does that makes this look right, the rainbow's kind of curving with the body. I don't know if mine is gonna be able to do that super well. Okay, new plan. I'm just gonna make this part rainbow, or else I don't think this is gonna look right. Maybe I can do white and a black outline, and then fill this in with something cool. Maybe the pink.
Don't play me your song, 'cause I'm bleeding, and I wonder if you really planned this all along. Your ghost keeps coming after me, it's slowly catching up, you see. I can't feel your symphony. Your ghost keeps coming after me, it's slowly catching up, you see. I can't feel your symphony, so please just try and let me be, yeah. Hear me like thunder. I'm crying out your song. Baby, I'm bleeding, and I wonder if you really planned this all along. Your ghost keeps coming after me, it's slowly catching up, you see. I can't feel your symphony.
Alright, I probably should not have spent that much time on this, but it is what it is and it's cute. So let's move on to something else before I lose my mind. And next up on the list is the quintessential Tamagotchi. Keep in mind, this was before cell phones. So a lot of us had these little things, and you could basically raise a tiny pet on them, and you had to care for them and clean up after them. And if they were happy, it was great. If they were sad, it was not so great. But you put these like on your little backpack. You could have a few of them, and they were adorable. It's a little pocket pet. So we'll start with a cube, scale it up a little bit, and then we'll do a subdivision surface modifier. And it'll kind of make it a little egg-shaped anyway. Scale it up on the axes. And it looks like it's a little wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So we're gonna go in edit mode, and remember we're still editing a cube. So technically, we can do this little face right here. Click on the bottom, and then we can just kind of do that, and then bring it down, kind of make it more of an egg. Shade that puppy smooth. And now it's very egg-shaped though, so let's tone that down a little bit. Yay, there we go. Something like that, just a little pocket-sized. I think what we need to do is we need to separate one of these. Let's move him up here. And then now we need another cube, and it's hard to tell, but it's inset a little bit. Create another cube here. Trying to get it where we want it. It's kind of like that. We'll do the bevel modifier for this one. Seems about right. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use, well, let's apply this first. Shade smooth and apply. And now we're gonna use the Boolean modifier to kind of cut this out. So we're gonna apply this. Boolean. Do this. And then now we have something like a perfect little inset over here. Let's apply this. And then it looks like we're getting some weird shading over here. Let's just see if it looks any better in the modeling. Looks slightly better. It's actually not that bad. So we have the little screen there. And then finally we need these tiny little red 3 buttons. And there we go. We have our little Tamagotchi. Use some of the same materials that we used for our Razr phone. Like for the screen, can have one for that. Then maybe a purple for the Tamagotchi. And then I still think we need the red buttons, so we can apply our transparent red over here. Might be a little too bright. Actually, I may do orange. The orange is pretty, ooh, don't do that. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the day, but thank you so much for watching. This was really fun. If you enjoy this type of content, please let me know. If you want to see me model something and put it in my game, leave it in the comments and I will do it. Thank you so much for hanging around, and I'll see you in the next one.
Keeps getting